Hey everyone, my name's Joe.
And I'm Mike.
And you're listening to How Many Fingers Am I Holding Up? The podcast. And this week we'll be reviewing Paterson.
Kylo Ren drives a bus?
Hey everyone, and welcome back to How Many Fingers Am I Holding Up, featuring two guys getting hung out to dry and reviewing movies in a weekly podcast form.
And thank you to Dan Martin on Facebook for that synonym suggestion. As always, you can hit us up with synonym suggestions on any of our social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr. All that you can find on our website, howmanyfingerspodcast.com.
We got them all and more.
And more. This week, what are we drinking?
We are
Charles
drinking
Shaw 2013 California Merlot. It's not a California accent.
It's a good year for Merlot, though.
Is it?
I don't know.
Oh, God.
Right?
I think you can peel the... Okay.
I just want to power through it, baby.
I just want to make this harder because I would have to break through the seal. Oh, God. For those just listening on audio, Joe is trying to screw... Well, he is successfully screwing into a cork. And then we're going to try to pull it out. Yeah, this is why you...
I'm breaking free. Soaring. Whoa, that was good. Something I didn't want to say about this wine in particular, Sabri hates it.
There's a thing on the side where you can peel it and then you can...
Because not only did I just break through the seal with the cork, but this cork always breaks up into the wine as you're pulling it out. Can you get that off? I'm not getting any grip on that little seal. But as I talk about in our next episode that we already filmed, this is Charles Shaw, but me and Sabri like to go to
I don't know.
Trader Joe's, and
We're supposed to let it breathe, aren't we?
it's like I'm alluding to. It's like a $2.99
Right,
wine.
we don't have to let it breathe.
No. Or maybe it's $3.99. I forget. But still, either way, that's a good, cheap wine is $10. This is... I don't know what. I'm not even a wine fan. They have all of them. But I just got Merlot.
I like a good change. Good change of poison.
Choose our poison. Oh, man. I feel like we don't say it enough at the beginning of it.
Strange.
Yeah, I have to. Wine is bizarre.
I feel like this is one of the first wines I don't really like.
I almost exclusively don't like wine.
Really?
Yeah. Eric and
I'll still drink it.
Eric and I used to drink a wine freshman year that we would
Yellowtail a lot.
that we would get from the city of Paterson.
Oh, that's right.
And it was called El Gato Negro.
From Yellowtail, right?
No, it was not good wine. It was I don't think Yellowtail makes El Gato Negro. They just make Yellowtail. But it was bad.
What do we got? Oh, Handy Awards. I think we're recording
They're
this.
coming.
They'll be out tomorrow, I think.
Yes,
Thursday.
they will be out tomorrow.
If you're listening to this on release day, the Handy Awards will be out, our ceremony, February 24th. So thank you to everyone for voting, but polling is closed and we're going to release the ceremony tomorrow. So please tune into our YouTube to watch that, and you can find our YouTube link on our website, howmanyfingerspodcast.com. We're going to work very hard tomorrow
Yeah,
on what you're going to see.
I don't even have the Google Doc up. But we had a lot of people vote during the Handies.
Oh, yeah.
Even more than I had originally thought were going to vote. So, yeah, again, a special shout out to everybody who voted, no matter what social media that you voted on. Let me see if I can get the number.
Thanks for participating.
Thanks for the 196.
Damn.
Votes. Not people, but votes.
Yeah, that's kind of...
Still, there were a ton of people who only voted...
9 categories, so...
Right, there were a ton of people who only voted for just, like, one category, too.
Yeah.
So 196, that was quite the turnout, guys, especially, I don't know. And it makes us want to do Handies from here on out. We were always going to do it anyway, because Mike and I love this.
We'll give Handies next year.
Listen, you guys don't have to watch me give a handy, but I'm going to just go out and give them.
Other thing we want to get to, the sticker contest has closed. We do have a winner that we're going to announce right here. So
right now?
Congratulations to Connor Burns for his winning review in the Stickers for Review contest. Let me find that so I can read that real quick. Connor says... This podcast makes me a better person and brings joy to my life. Male dancing emoji, which I didn't know you could get emojis into iTunes reviews, but apparently you can. Impressive. So we'll ship your koozie and your stickers out soon. Connor, thank you for the review. And thank you to everyone else who participated in the contest with the ratings and reviews. We did get a few reviews that did not email us. So obviously,
you guys are missing out on free stickers.
The koozie,
that's what I can't believe.
The koozie is decided, but if you do want free stickers, we're gonna extend that deadline at least a little bit. I'm not sure till when, but if you left a review and you want some stickers, make sure you email us so we have your address and can get your stickers. And if you don't want the stickers and you just wanted to leave a good review, well, then you're the best kind of person as well.
Yeah.
But take the free damn stickers.
Did you say our email?
Oh, howmanyfingerspodcast@gmail.com.
That's right.
It's always some variation of How Many Fingers Podcast or HMF Podcast.
Yeah, it really is.
If you haven't caught on. But I'm going to read this IMDb description for this movie, which is kind of a strange one. A quiet observation of the triumphs and defeats of daily life, along with the poetry evident in its smallest details.
That is.
No description of characters or plot or...
It's fitting for this movie almost, but
that's not what.
That's a bad IMDb description.
Does not make anyone want to go watch a movie.
No. So in recent trend, Joe and Mike notes these are very minimalistic. It's more going to be just me sort of looking back and forth at pages. But anyway, Jim Jarmusch. I was just looking up how to say his name because I wasn't sure. I haven't really seen any of his films. Jarmusch makes me want to say, oh man, there was something we would watch in college. Oh, Garuga Mash! Garuga Mash! What is that from?
It was that like fake advertisement for tourism to like Japan.
Oh yeah,
or maybe it was real.
It was like Japan Con or something.
Making fun of it, and it was just all these different types of people and what they appreciated about Japan.
Anime, manga,
Garuga Mash,
gaming.
Oh, that's a throwback. That's like 2008, 2009.
If you guys just try to look for the meme Garuga Mesh, and you'll eventually find that meme.
Yeah, it was literally the guy going like Garuga Mesh.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Jim Garugamesh, what has he directed?
Jim Garugamesh.
Henceforth word known as.
So he's 21 credits. Let's see. Oh, I'll skip some of these. Some of these are shorts. Permanent Vacation, Stranger Than Paradise, Down by Law, Talking Heads, Storytelling Giant. I believe that was a talking. I don't know. Anyway, let me get back into that. Mystery Train, Night on Earth, Dead Man, Year of the Horse. That was a documentary. Ghost Dog, The Way of the Samurai.
What?
Ghost Dog, The Way of the Samurai.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Still.
Coffee and Cigarettes, which I know that was also like two short films. Broken Flowers, which I watched a little bit of.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
It's the Bill Murray.
Okay.
The Limits of Control, Only Lovers Left Alive, and Paterson. And I know, I only know this from Scout, but I know he also directed a documentary this year, Gimme Danger, which was, what's it called? It was a documentary about the punk band The Stooges.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I've seen literally nothing that Jim Garugamesh has done before.
I know, like, I've heard people talk about him, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I know, and again, I'll get into this about this film because I don't think he does it in this film, but I know he's kind of the, like, godfather of, like, quirky, kind of, in a way. Like, I think Wes Anderson, like, adapted from him.
Okay.
So, correct me if I'm wrong. Again, we're not familiar with
Garugamesh.
Yeah, Garugamesh, Jim Garugamesh. Anyway, let's talk about Paterson. Or you know what? Actually, what's it called? I did have two notes about him, and this will tie into Paterson. In 1984, Garugamesh won Camera d'Or at Cannes Film Festival. There's so many different awards at Cannes Film Festival that I'm not entirely sure of them. For Stranger Than Paradise, and then in 2005 he won the Grand Prix of the 2005 Cannes Film Festival for his film Broken Flowers. And then let's talk about Paterson.
It's a great city.
Paterson. I mean, do you
neighboring Wayne and
yes.
Totowa?
Yeah, we'll get into our personal history with Paterson. But Paterson stars Adam Driver, Golshifteh Farahani,
Garugamesh,
whose beautiful Afghani, or I don't know, name I just butchered. Wow, Joe, you put a lot of work into these Joe notes. Thanks. Nelly the dog, and Method Man. I didn't know that was Method Man at that part.
I knew I recognized him. I didn't put two and two together.
Oh man, that part was not great. But anyway.
And then who are the two? The bartender I recognized from so much.
He plays like character parts, but he didn't feel like.
And then the guy in the bus station. I can't tell if I'm racist, but was he in the Metro PCS commercials? I know I've seen him playing stereotypical.
Oh, he almost
Indian parts.
He almost exclusively does Indian part, like those kind of choice parts.
Right. I mean, not that Hollywood is really extending a lot of opportunity.
Exactly. Right. Yeah, he wants to be an actor, and that's Hollywood's like, well, can you be racist towards your own people? And he's like,
I guess.
Yeah. But yeah. Besides that, I mean, I know this was put on by, or this was released by Amazon Studios. It was released by Bleecker Street, where I know.
I completely missed so I didn't see the Amazon logo in the beginning.
Because I know
I had a weird experience walking into this movie. We'll get into that, but go on.
Oh, okay. No, just if you want to, if you want to make a movie in the New York area, Bleecker Street is where you go. And that's pretty much all of my notes or whatever. Tell me about your theater experience.
It's nothing me. I walked in. They must have started it. I was only a couple minutes late, but I guess they didn't play a lot of trailers beforehand.
Right.
So I walked in to watch it at this theater in Montclair that we usually go to.
Right.
And it's like already started, and it's so dark in there. Like they have none of the other lights on because the trailers are already gone, and it's a very dark. Mm-hmm. Just in terms of it's not incredibly bright, and especially in the beginning it's like very dark because like just title sequence and then they're like laying in bed together in the beginning.
Right.
I literally had to stand there for like 5 to 10 minutes before I could like even see where there was like an open seat because it was pretty crowded. A lot of like old people watching like a 2 in the afternoon matinee. But like I just felt so creepy just like standing there, like walking in late by myself and then just being like, I'm not gonna sit down in this theater. It was very, I don't know, I felt very, very fucking weird just standing there.
Standing puts people...
And I could see people like looking
Yes.
at me being like, what is that guy doing? Just standing there.
Standing puts people on edge anyway, but standing in a theater is kind of like...
It's weird. Yeah. I was just like, sorry, I literally cannot see where there is an open seat. I don't want to sit down.
Sorry, I gotta wait for a brighter scene, and then I'm gonna shoot this theater.
I can't see my targets.
Yes. Oh boy! But like I was saying before, you know what? Let's talk about. I mean, if you're probably not familiar. I mean, unless you know us. I mean, you're probably not familiar. We haven't really talked so much about our. It's not like we revise our how Mike and Joe met like every episode, but we did meet at college, and we went to William Paterson University, which is the town of Paterson named after William Paterson.
I would assume so,
yeah,
but I don't know for sure.
Yeah, I would assume so as well. It's they're 5 minutes away from each other.
But I always thought that was weird in college because William Paterson's in Wayne.
Right.
But then Paterson is literally right next door, which is also weird because Wayne is like this like very one of like the richest like towns like in New Jersey, like a lot of just like beautiful rich homes, and then you just literally cross over the border into Paterson and it's like we're in the city now. Like it's like it feels like mini like Jersey City or something like that whenever you're in Paterson.
It feels not as bad, but it feels like I'm making like a South Jersey analogy. It's like Camden, except in North
Camden's
Jersey.
pretty bad.
Camden's very bad. Patterson's not that bad, but I know it's kind of bad.
Yeah. I just remember we would always drive through Paterson to go to anytime we would go to like Harrison to take like the PATH train or something, or just times that like it was sometimes faster to get through Paterson to get to 80 if you were going east
Every time
from
I
Wayne.
drove to
and
school.
when you would drive through Paterson, yeah, I guess you came through Paterson a lot coming up, but every time you drive through Paterson, it's the type of city where people don't care about crosswalks
not at
or
all.
crossing signals. So as you're going through the street, like people are just like literally just playing Frogger in the fucking road, like running across, like dodging your car, and they just all seem like they're like begging to get hit and like get the insurance money or something.
It's a very strange city. Again, when we lived in Bloomfield, I would drive to school through that, and when I was coming up from southern New Jersey, I would drive through it, and it had a gigantic amount of homeless people. I've never had homeless people walk up to my car, and it would happen on a regular basis in Paterson. It was always, hey man, can you spare some change? And always be like people my age, white or black, Hispanic, doesn't matter. And then the older homeless people would kind of just be laying down on the sidewalk. It was like it was a smaller New York City that just looked more sad and depressing, kind of. It was obviously something, and I mean, we can kind of bleed into the film through this description of Paterson, but it was definitely like New York City was built not too far from Paterson, because Paterson at some point was like captain of industry, kind of like they had that huge waterfall which was like creating a current, so it was a very like booming city sort of at one point. Which is why the famous poet that they bring up, I mean, there are a lot of historical figures that came out of Paterson because at one time it was a hustling, bustling city. And now it is not so much. Yeah. I think that's why, the character of Paterson and his girlfriend, did they ever... Yeah,
they didn't say if they were... I mean, if they did, I missed it because I came in a little late. But
did they put a title on it?
I don't think so. What are we?
Patterson and Laura.
I don't think they talk about it enough to have a title for themselves.
But yeah, it's a... I don't know. It's just kind of an abandoned town almost. That's... in this film, it kind of... There is a lot of public transportation, obviously, which I could, it's not like it's like, this fucking Jim Garugamesh fucking came into our city and made and made a film where he doesn't really know what's actually going on here. Granted, it's kind of like a polished version of what I know of Paterson, but it's not far off. There's a ton of public transportation, which Adam Driver plays a bus driver. What were you gonna say?
I felt a little conflicted. I know part of it is that like my first experiences with Paterson were as like a pretty sheltered like white college kid, like going to like a city like that for the first time. So it was a little more frightening, I think, for me, and like shocking a little bit. And this movie doesn't really seem like it delves into sort of like the darker side, or even really takes a stance on what Paterson is as a city at all. Like they talk about, all these people that they're sort of proud that came from Paterson, but they don't really settle on a kind of identity for what the city is.
Right.
And that was maybe one of my just first complaints to wager against the movie, is that it's called Paterson and it doesn't really come to even a mild thesis of what living in Paterson means. Even for this character, much less anybody.
I'm just trying to picture, if I wasn't so close to Paterson, or if I didn't have so much knowledge about Paterson, or I just didn't even live on this coast or this country, and I watched, because is Jim Jarmusch, is he, I don't think he's from America, is he? I don't know. I don't think he's an American director. Even if he is, whatever. If somebody is watching this film and they don't know what Paterson is, like, what do you think they think leaving the theater? Like after what? Like
I can't even.
I don't even know.
It's a city. I mean, there's parts of it that like. My theater was also packed when I went to see it, and this is like weeks after the movie's been out. I don't know how long it had been at Montclair, but at least 2 or 3 weeks by the time I went there.
Right.
And it was packed for like a 2 p.m. showing. So I think it's the type of movie where just because it's filmed in Paterson, called Paterson, set in Paterson, that like I think it kind of appeals. And that was kind of why we were drawn to the movie to begin with, was like this was filmed, blocks away from where we went to college, and you do end up recognizing like pretty much everything in this
every
movie.
Shot, yeah.
Like a lot of it takes place at Paterson Falls, which is obviously very recognizable, but just like the streets that they would go down, even if you don't recognize that specific street, it's very like visually and iconically like New Jersey, and like that portion of like New Jersey.
I think he just goes down that when he's doing the bus route, it mainly looks like he's going down that main street. Yeah. And then he'll kind of like loop around 2 streets later, and then just kind of, at least that's how they filmed it. That's how it looks. But let's get into, I guess, the logistics of whatever this film was. We do have this reoccurring image of Paterson and his loved one, Laura, waking up in bed. And it's Monday, and it's like written like Monday. And, we go through Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and I think it ends on Monday too. But we quickly fall into a pattern where Paterson gets up to drive his bus, and then he kind of like listens to passengers talking. And, during pauses, during his everyday, writes poetry in a notebook that he carries with him. When he comes home from work, he takes Marvin, his girlfriend. I think it's his wife. It seems like her dog, out for a walk, and he makes a stop at a bar, and he gets a beer, where he just kind of also observes there. And then he goes home and goes to sleep and repeats it all over again. And obviously there's stuff with his wife that he that also
I get the impression that they were not married yet, because it seemed like she had just moved in.
Oh, really?
They don't really seem like the type that would like, oh, we can't move into, we're like married together. I don't know. There was not a single line about marriage, and I would have thought if that was the deal. Yeah. Because it's not a horrible screenplay in terms of he's been making movies this long, he would know to throw a line in about being married.
So much mystery in this film.
I don't know what he was going for in a lot of this film.
I hate cliches, but but I almost wish there were a few in here. Like, I don't quite know what they are, kind of like he and Laura.
That's one of my
it's
biggest complaints.
Kind of like they kind of have this like bohemian lifestyle where he doesn't want a smartphone, and they're very. I think it's weird. The weirdest thing about this movie, as a viewer, as a regular everyday person watching this movie, is that they're content with their lives, their station, their level of artistic endeavors. They're just 100% content with life. And that's something that like all of us definitely struggle with on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. And it's very bizarre to see. It's like where Paterson writes poetry in a notebook, and he doesn't. Not only does he not have a goal to have it published, he doesn't even want to like fucking Xerox it, which his girlfriend or whoever, Laura, is just bugging him to do all the time.
Well, and like it's like if that's not going to, I mean,
I kind
not
of
to let too much of the cat out of the bag, but I was excited for this movie, and I was really, really let down.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like my girlfriend was like, I don't want to see that with you, because I was like trying to convince her to go, and she was like, it looks so boring, and I was like, but everyone's put it so high on their lists. I think there's just more that they're not showing in the trailer, and there is
everything's in the trailer.
It is exactly what she said it was going to be, which was just a guy riding a bus route and writing poetry. And I don't want films to feel like they have to fall into the traps of like melodrama.
Yes.
And doing stuff, but I think if a film is going to be this quiet and subtle, that there needs to be something that wows us in other ways, whether it's the cinematography or the score or just the subtle nuances of a performance. And it's a good performance, but it's not really wowing me in any way. And I don't think the writing wows me anyway. The dialogue doesn't wow me in any way. I was just genuinely bored watching this movie. And I don't think I'm a stupid person.
No, yeah.
I don't think I'm missing a lot. I don't think a lot was put out there. And I don't want films to feel like they have to follow the same linear arc of, Act 3, here's your climax and blah, blah, blah. That entire, Sid Field of how to write a screenplay.
Right.
But there has to be some conflict, because you have to make people care. And there's the conflicts that I perceived in this weren't even there. Like, I thought that he wasn't really feeling his like girlfriend the entire time, like, because I would be annoyed for him in the conversations they would have, because he's so quiet and shy, and he would just be sitting there, and she would just be like talking and talking and talking, and oh, I painted your bathroom today, and I painted the kitchen, I've been painting your house since I like moved in like really recently. And like for me, I was like getting annoyed for him. And he would still, in those moments, not like, he doesn't really feel like he really expresses himself. He'll just kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, that sounds good. And then he'll sort of like let himself loose at like the bar when he has like a beer and talk to like the bartender and be a little bit more emotive and expressive. But then he really only expresses himself through his poetry. And in his poetry, he'll talk about how much he loves her. And that's where I was really confused, where I'm like, so I'm just picking up on a conflict that's not even there. He's truly in love with this woman and is just completely content to just sit on the couch and be like, oh, okay, yeah, that sounds good. Like,
it's a very interesting character. I don't want to call it complex because I don't want to give it too much credit, almost. I do not get the impression that she like just moved in or whatever. I personally get the impression that this is just like a house that they've purchased together, or maybe pay rent for together. It's a sweet house. I mean, they got a basement and everything.
Garage.
Yeah, really. I mean, I guess when you live in Paterson, you can live on literally just like a transit worker's wage and have like a house. Again, his girlfriend, the freeloader, who doesn't work all day.
She sells muffins, Joe. Cupcakes.
She just started selling cupcakes.
They were a hit. She made $200.
Yeah. I don't.
Even that, they're building that up the entire time, where they're like, oh, this bake sale. The bake sale comes and she does fine, and that's it. Like I thought they were trying to build up to some kind of thing where she was upset because it didn't work out or he didn't show up or some kind of rift in their relationship. And like even when, I don't want to jump too far ahead, but when something happens to sort of create a rift in that he's completely understanding and he does not get angry.
You can say it. I don't think it's that much of a... This movie doesn't really have spoilers because it
there's
doesn't
nothing
have
that really
events.
happens. But I mean, the entire time it's set in this like week-long format, and from like Monday, I think it's Monday when he comes home, she's like, I want to, or maybe it's Tuesday, she's like, I want to talk to you about something kind of serious. You know, you carry all your poems around in this little secret notebook.
Right.
And you don't want to share them with anyone, but will you at least this weekend promise me you'll go make copies of this?
Right, she wants to arm the Xerox and like,
which is also
Kinko's
something that like
something.
it kind of like gives away the ending where you're like, obviously if she's making him promise that he's going to go Xerox them, he's not going to Xerox them, and then thus something's going to happen because he doesn't Xerox them, whether it's just a fight in their relationship or they're going to get destroyed. And
right.
Lo and behold, the dog destroys them because he doesn't go Xerox them like he promised. Mm-hmm. And you think it's going... Like, that's what I... And again, I don't know that I wanted it to fall into this melodramatic trap of, like, him having some rage scene of, like, you know, finally letting something out. But I just wanted some kind of emotion from him to, like... Where is the real, like, Paterson in all of this? Like, because he's so... within himself and confined, and it didn't even seem like it was trying to say something about being a character that's, you know, hiding in a shell and not really letting himself out, you know. And there was something to be said about the scenes where he is kind of just like sitting there and she's like, I'm so sorry, and he's kind of like, it's okay, and you can tell that he doesn't mean that it's okay, but that's all he can kind of say at that point. But I don't know, it felt like it was like giving me like blue balls in so many areas of this film. Even like the points when like he would be on the bus listening to people have a conversation, and you would be watching him like look in like the rearview mirror and like see these people, and you could tell he wanted to butt in and be like, well, no, actually, here's what, you know, this guy was born, or here's why he came to Paterson, and he never like butts in. So then it's kind of like, well, why are we listening to these conversations? They don't show up in his poetry at all. Like, he just writes poetry about other things not related to what he's hearing on the bus all day. And they're not really saying a whole lot about the city of Paterson. Mm-hmm. It was just like a weird filler that was there for a reason I couldn't ascertain.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. In the middle of the film, I got super bored. For reasons that
the guy next to me fell asleep to the point of like really loud snoring.
Oh man!
And after the movie, he was like, "I couldn't help it. It was just so fucking boring."
Oh man! To the point that I'll get into, but near the end, when there's something about this sort of pattern or this everyday monotony that kind of started, or like something about his girlfriend too. It made me want to, near the end, it kind of made me want to spend like more time in this world. I was definitely guilty of that.
It does get better in the end.
But I mean, something that you said, a lot of people have, a lot of this respectable people have this on like their top 10 list or something. And I think maybe I understand that, but my opinion is very different. Like, I don't think I'm wired for this film. I think maybe I still think a lot of this film is problematic, and I'll definitely I'll get into that. But I think I want some sort of I don't know. There's too much contentment in this film. I think I'm not wired for sort of steady and mellow. I kind of want some sort of drama and struggle, and that's more opinion based. And I know I see you struggling too. Like, I know you're like, I like that. I want more films to be different than films we see.
I understand what it's trying to be. It's trying to be, and I don't know. Maybe I haven't seen Jim Jarmusch films. Mm-hmm. Maybe they're all like this, but it's trying to be. Kind of it's trying to be that backlash against that melodrama and that dramatization of scenes, and action and flashy, and even the cinematography is like dull and like just flat and browns and grays and like no true blacks. I felt like in this movie, like
You said something that completely changed like the way that I like looked back at it, but couldn't put my finger on it during it. And I think this has a lot to do with us going to college in that area, but it looked like a student film.
yes,
The composition, the quality almost, like that's the thing. Like he says, the poetry in this film is kind of beautiful. I know it's written by some other poet, that they're kind of lifting his work and putting it in the character of Paterson.
Mm-hmm.
I really like it. I really like the way that it's read by Adam Driver. It's naturalistic to the way that you would write poetry, kind of. I mean, granted, it's a little fast for the sake of film, but he'll kind of, consciously or not, he's going around sort of looking for these inspirations, and he's being inspired, and through what he's inspired by, he'll almost kind of make revisions in poems that he was interrupted from before, of what he writes. But again, it's like the words showing up. I like that too.
I wasn't crazy about
that. I like that too, but it kind of like, if you were to tell me this was like an Adam Driver film from like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, maybe he's like a man who doesn't age.
Yeah, it doesn't look like
it was maybe it's an indie movie from 10 or 20 years ago. Like, I would have believed you. I would have said, like,
look like a film from someone who was in Cannes in 1984.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I don't know, going back to the poems, they are good, but now that you have filled me in on the fact that they were lifted from another poet, it makes sense, because I was having trouble finding
the connection to
correlation
the story.
And like there's ones where it is there, like the Ohio Blue Tip.
I love
but
that.
then now you can be like, oh well, obviously they
Mm-hmm.
inserted him, and that was another thing. Like none of them
like,
smoke in the movie. So
yes,
do they smoke in the first scene?
No.
Right. So like he writes this poem about smoking, which I mean, again, poets can take artistic liberties to write a poem, but why do they have so many matches? Why do they have even that match in there?
Well, I feel like there's a brief scene of her smoking when he's reading the poem, like, or maybe he's just lighting a cigarette. Is there imagery of that in like some sort of like cross fade or something?
I might have still been standing in the back at that point, being like looking more at the,
because that is the I definitely want to finish out the conversation with love poem, because I do want to make a point about that and how that's good, but it is like they don't even smoke during this. It does seem, now that you say that, it seems like it's like a crappy screenplay written around like these beautiful poems,
right? And like there's other one, like the other like correlations that I could find are so small. Like he doesn't even seem like someone that goes to a bar. He doesn't seem like someone that drinks beer when he goes to a bar. Like, I know he's supposed to be like the regular everyday man, but he's like also the shy, reserved version of that. So like I don't know, I had a hard time because he seems like barely comfortable talking to his girlfriend. So why does he want to go to the bar and like talk to the bartender? But then like the one poem, I think it's the one about another dimension, or I think it's called Another One. And he's like, at some point
the
you
DJ
learn.
Khaled. Another one.
But when he's talking about learning that there's other dimensions, and then he's like, at some point you learn that there might be as many as 6 or 7, and then I think it just ends with like, I look down at my beer and I am glad. And like that was something that was so simple to introduce, but it also felt like it was intruding a little bit in terms of like, I didn't fully feel like that fit with his character. I'm just gonna go to the bar, have one beer, barely talk to anyone, and leave. Like, I don't know. I always have problems with stuff like that because I want to relate to characters like that because I consider myself to be pretty shy, a lot of social fucking anxiety.
Right.
But that means I don't want to go to the bar with no one. Like, I don't want to go unless there's someone why would I want to put myself in a situation like that? And like, I wanted to relate to Paterson, but then I see scenes like that and I'm like, why are you going to the bar to just sit there and like feel awkward for like half an hour while your dog sits outside?
He seems a little more in his element in that bar than he seems anywhere else, but I know what you mean. almost every bar scene I felt very
But then
uncomfortable in.
but then if that is the truth, then
Right.
then why is there not a conflict with him and his girlfriend? Because then if that is the real him in the bar, then obviously he's not being his real self with his girlfriend.
There's literally so many. I mean, again, and maybe we're conditioned, like Pavlov's dog or something. Like every time, like I don't even know whether he was doing it intentionally. The filmmaker, like
Jim Garugamesh.
Garugamesh. I feel like, again, when she's like, you gotta fucking Xerox your journal, so we can have these poems, for safekeeping, or my God, you can fucking read one to me. I understand why you wouldn't read one to. It's his private journal. He's a very private man, kind of, or whatever. But every time there was something like, my God, he's tying the dog up outside of the bar. Somebody just told him that dogs like that get jacked because, like, French bulldogs are, like, in season, or they're popular right now. I always thought something was going to happen and nothing ever actually happens. And I feel like,
I think that is conscious.
Right.
And I think that is part of his backlash against, like, typical Hollywood cliches. But in doing that, it almost falls into, like, the cliches of a bad student film.
Oh, no, definitely. I don't know. They really go hard on William Carlos William.
Carlos William Carlos.
Yeah. And, like, at first, when I was in the theater, I kind of cringed when she's like, read me the one I like. And he, like, reads, like, I'm sorry, I ate your plums in the icebox, like the most, like, one of the most recognizable poems in the world, kind of. And then I was kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of nice, like, if people, it's history about Paterson, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I did like that element of, there's so much blue balls in this movie where they're showing you something and making your brain want it in some way, whether it's conditioning or whether it's, like, actual clues and threads that they're leaving down. But, like, there's the whole theme of the bar that he goes to. Not that it really has a theme, but the bartender likes putting up stuff of people from Paterson. Famous people that are somehow related to Paterson. They have, like, something about Iggy Pop being banned from something, and then there's, like, a boxer that the kids are talking about. The kids on the bus are also talking about, like, an anarchist that grew up in Paterson, which is the two kids from Moonrise Kingdom.
Oh,
together.
really?
Yeah, it's both of them, yeah.
I didn't even, yeah.
I saw that in the trailer, and I wish they had, like, a bigger role in this, just because I liked them in Moonrise Kingdom, but then they were kind of disappointing in this. But, like, there's this whole theme of, like,
that scene looks even worse in the trailer. He's like, I guess we're the only anarchist in Paterson. And, like, it really takes it out of context, and it kind of, like, looks like Adam Driver's, like, rolling his eyes at them or something.
I still got the feeling he was rolling his eyes.
Yeah, no, but it's a little more understandable. Like, it's more of an anecdote in the movie, where in the trailer it's kind of like, I guess we're, it seems different.
Yeah.
And also, they're definitely implied to be college students, and I was like, is there some sort of Paterson Community College, or are they definitely
William Paterson?
They're definitely referencing them as William Paterson students.
I didn't pick up on that. I wasn't thinking about that.
So yeah, no, they say, like, oh, like, my class, and I'm gonna be late for my class, and, like, I can imagine a lot of William Paterson kids who are coming from Paterson.
But where they got off the bus was not
in Paterson.
I think they said they were going somewhere. Anyway,
all right.
I'll lose my train of thought. Oh yeah, like there's all this talk of famous people that came from Paterson. William Carlos Williams being obviously the most famous of which. Paterson has all these books of his in the basement, namely the one called Paterson, which is another thing about the title. But the film kind of makes you seem like it's going ahead in the territory, and I don't know that I wanted it to full. Again, I don't know that I wanted to fully go into this territory of, like, oh, there's all these famous people from Paterson, and then Paterson becomes famous as well, like the character.
Right.
But you never got the sense that he wanted to become famous, and that was more where I felt like the blue balls came from. Like, even if he wanted to become famous and failed, that would have felt better than him not wanting to get famous and staying as he was. And just, then why are we having, like, all these kind of, like, red herrings of, script writing wise, where it's like famous people have come from Paterson, and then even like the Japanese guy that comes at the end is talking about, mainly William Carlos Williams coming from Paterson. I don't know. There's so many things in this movie that I just...
Who's visiting Japan? Who's visiting...
Paterson.
Yeah, Paterson. What a shitty vacation.
And it's my favorite scene in the movie when we
I mean, it kind of
mainly
bothers me.
There's dialogue.
Yeah, no, it kind of bothers me. Well, let's talk about that scene. So after the dog rips up his book, that's kind of his defining trait. That's kind of just been ripped up, and he's more on edge than we've seen him at all in this movie. But he has very little emotion. So he goes on a walk, and he goes to Paterson Falls, the only real landmark in Paterson.
Another reason why we thought it felt like a student film.
No, yeah.
Where are you going to film in Paterson?
Exactly.
But Paterson Falls.
I would have loved to film at Paterson Falls. And also, it's the... some English teacher, William Paterson, told me it's the second largest waterfall on the East Coast after Niagara Falls. Which is crazy.
Yeah.
Because I never saw it.
Yeah, I never actually went, to be honest.
Neither did Jordan. Neither did anybody that I know. I mean...
We had this great landmark, a bus ride over from William Paterson.
I've only seen it in, like, pictures, like, photographs that friends have taken. This and...
Sopranos.
We're just talking about... It's in The Sopranos. Somebody's threatened to be thrown over the fucking Paterson Falls in Sopranos. But yeah, so he goes and he's just looking at
Paterson. I think they do throw someone over.
Probably.
Because then there's the kids at the end of the bridge that are
yeah.
I didn't see nothing.
Yeah. But so this is the place that, because we visit Paterson Falls a lot in this film. He'll go there on his lunch break. Like, where does he fucking park the bus? Like, I've drove by Paterson Falls. I've never been there, but where is he parking that bus, or what is he?
Maybe that parking depot is near the falls. I don't know exactly where in Paterson the falls are, though.
Also, was his house damaged by the major flood of 2000? What year was that? Paterson was underwater for like half a year because of Hurricane Sandy or something.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
The fried chicken place that I always wanted to go to there, it goes out of business. It's completely underwater because they're right next to the Passaic River, I guess. Is that where the Paterson Falls goes into?
It's Passaic County, so I would assume, yeah.
Anyway, so this is where he writes poetry. He goes there just to sit and be content, I guess. To contemplate on what has happened now that his life and notebook are destroyed. Not his life, but his notebook is destroyed. And he sits there, and there's a just Japanese guy who's like, "Do you mind if I sit next to you?" And again, I really like that you can't understand. Like, I had a really hard time understanding him. Yeah, and I kind of really like that because even if it's not a guy from Japan who's, English isn't his first language, I just feel like I have a hard time understanding people sometimes. And you're just like, what did you say? Like, kind of like thing. And it was like a really like naturalistic thing to do in a film. But again, they connect on William Carlos Williams. I mean, did you want to say anything about it? Did you want to walk us through the scene? Or I didn't want to steal your thunder. You brought up the scene.
No, it was just that I think Jim Jarmusch is pretty talented with dialogue. I think this is a complaint I feel like I've had a lot recently, where we have these people who are really talented. Did he write this, by the way? I actually didn't remember if he's the writer for this.
Yeah, I think so.
But there's all these talented writer-directors that are really talented with writing dialogue, and when there is dialogue, it's beautiful. But they get so caught up in like trying to like be different or like add pacing and like space to their movies that they end up adding too much, and there's not enough dialogue. Like Split that we reviewed next week. M. Night Shyamalan, really not bad with dialogue in movie, but there's barely any dialogue in Split. And that's kind of the problem I have with this movie, is that like when there is dialogue, especially with Paterson, the character. I wasn't crazy about the dialogue with people on the bus, but with Paterson, the character, he's a decent character, and listening to him talk to someone else is very interesting, and especially with this because it's someone that's like so far removed from him. It's someone from another country, but they find something to connect on. And I mean, it's also there's so many good lines in that exchange where like the Japanese guy asks him like, "Oh, are you a poet? Do you write poetry?" And he says no. Like we as the audience obviously know that he writes poetry, and he's now just kind of like given up on it because of his notebook being destroyed. Like I can't think of too many other lines in the movie where someone is saying something and it means something else, which is
right.
I think, I mean, a sign of good dialogue and writing, and it's also just more entertaining to watch. The rest of the movie is kind of just, and I thought it was like when he would be interacting with his girlfriend or wife, I thought that he was saying stuff like, "Oh, okay, yeah, that sounds good," and not really meaning that. But then it turns out he was still in love with her through his poetry.
What I like about his wife, or I mean, to talk about, just because I feel like we're getting near the end of this review, but to talk about Adam Driver as an actor, just, my God, he's the best thing about this film. I'll forever remember this film as It's Coming From That Way, next door. They're playing some sort of drinking game. What I'll forever remember about this film is that it's one of the most show and like not tell performances I've ever seen. It's like he'll come home every day and she'll kind of like tell him about like this kind of like artistic endeavor that she's kind of like gone on, and she's again it could be perceived as quirky that she's like, you know, she's decorating the entire house, or she very visibly has an aesthetic of black and white patterns, kind of. It looks like a Keith Haring sort of like, just but in black and white. But I didn't see it as quirky. It looked just like a genuine kind of character trait, kind of. But what I was saying about Adam Driver is,
my audience thought it was quirky though. By the way.
Oh, okay.
Every time a new like black and white thing showed up, they were like, "Ha ha!
Oh, I didn't get that.
It's the pattern."
Yeah. I feel like by watching him in his very, very small detail, you can tell whether he genuinely likes something or he's saying the same exact thing he says when he genuinely likes something, and you can tell it through his face. It's definitely either maybe a decision by fucking Adam.
So do you think I was seeing too much in those scenes with his wife when like she shows him something and he's just kind of like, "Yeah, it's good"?
I think the filmmaker also sort of challenges us on what a relationship looks like, even when they're showing us relationships in like the bar or something. And I mean, I think he's also showing us what a relationship looks like kind of when he's not exactly agreeing with everything like his wife or girlfriend is doing. He's still supporting her. I don't know. He's just, maybe it's just in his character, or it's just that's how a relationship is defined or something.
I didn't see what he was getting out of the relationship. Like it just kind of felt like
he does write. I mean, a poem. I mean, I think I wasn't 100% on the relationship either, but he does write a poem about how if she ever left him, he would rip out his heart and never, like, you know, she could never be replaced, period. Right. You definitely see a lot of sympathy with him, and Everett at the bar, who is borderline suicidal, trying to get his ex back.
That was the other scene that I did liked was when I think it might be the first scene that Everett's in where he like overreacts and whatever I can't remember the girl's name. She leaves, and like he just kind of sits there and he's like, you know, what would you do if like you lost like your whole world or something? And then the bartender's like, you should be an actor, and he's like, I am an actor. And Adam Driver like can't contain his laughter.
There's a lot of like just this is like this. I don't know. Let's talk about the fucking bar scenes real quick before we wrap this up. I hated almost all of the bar scenes. It felt like a student play.
Yeah.
Compared to the rest of it, which felt like a student film, which student films are bearable. Student plays.
It felt like,
can
I
be
have a
even
friend
worse.
whose dad owns a bar, so we're going to film here.
Exactly. Everything had gleaming moments, but it was just mostly so weird and over dramatic in a film that's not weird or over dramatic. It did not fit in this film. You could tell they kind of like, I mean, most of it's filmed in Paterson, but you could tell that's not filmed in Paterson, definitely. I don't know. It was a complete deviation from the film every time they went there, and a third of the film is spent there. Everything felt so weird there.
There was a lot of like parts in the bar that like felt like student film versions of trailer lines, and they are in the trailer. Like the one line where the bartender is like playing chess. He's like, "Oh, I'm getting my ass kicked today."
Yes.
And Patterson's like, "Who are you playing?" He's like, "Myself." And it's just kind of like, what is that doing for anything besides like being like a quirky, funny sort of indie line for a movie? Like, oh yeah, we're all fighting ourselves. Like,
See,
because we don't see any evidence of Patterson fighting himself in the film. We don't even really see evidence of the bartender fighting himself like in that scene, much less the rest of the movie. Like, it was just, I don't know, it was funny for the sake of literally just a laugh, like in a movie that didn't really come off as very funny.
It was like, then even when like I thought things were going to get serious, just because I couldn't take the Everett conflict seriously, and I don't know what its purpose was in this
Student
film.
play is a very good descriptor for the Everett relationship, like, because it was just kind of that like, here's Everett again, here's that character who just like can't take no for an answer, that I can't find any like real...
Nobody in real life acts like that, where I was really getting into the groove of kind of like him and his girlfriend when he's home, and it kind of seems very...
Like, obviously there are guys in real
yeah.
life that obviously can't take the hint.
Right.
But I feel like they don't show up to bars like that. I feel like she doesn't belong in a bar like that.
No.
Like, that's an old man's like almost like Irish bar. Like, not even any like TVs up to like show the game.
Because when we lived in Bloomfield, and we had friends from college come over, and they're like, let's go to a bar. And we're like, okay. And so instead of walking in the direction of Montclair, New Jersey, we walked in the direction of Newark, New Jersey. And we went into a bar, and we like paraded into a bar like a bunch of like college white guys. College white guys. We were with like Andy and Matt, and like we opened the door, and a bunch of like old black men kind of just like slowly
I do remember this, yes.
turned and looked at us, and we were immediately like, this is not what we had in mind, and literally did like a spin on our heel, like 360, and just walked right out. And we're like, so we can probably get like a taxi to Montclair or something. Like, it was just
I do remember
very,
that night now.
it's very like, that's the kind of bar that I picture being in Paterson. And yes, maybe I can see Paterson going there because
he's kind of an older soul.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly. But I don't see Everett. I don't see the girlfriend. I don't see like
the two twins in the beginning.
Yeah.
Going there, especially since they're concerned about having the game on.
Yeah.
Also,
hey,
like,
turn on the ruckus game.
What was? Did I miss something in the beginning about? I think he said something about having a dream about twins.
She wakes up and she says, "I had a dream we had twins," and then from then on, it becomes a thing that he sees, I guess.
Why?
I don't really...
If you had to guess.
Again, if I want to work kind of more into the end of my like review, I feel like this film's very slice of life.
Obviously, from the IMDb
Yes,
description.
It is quite literally a slice of life. The entire movie is just kind of an observation through what I would assume is Paterson's point of view. And through observation, I guess you can transcend into deeper meaning. It's kind of much like the opening poem. Like I said, I was going to return to. It's called quote unquote love poem, and it starts by like just describing like a brand of matches, which is strange. It talks about how him and his wife kind of, are buying one brand of matches, which again, neither of them smoke this entire movie. Why are they buying matches? Whatever. We'll skip over that.
She didn't write the poem.
But then they switch to Ohio blue tip matches. They're these purple tips. They're like the text on the side of the box is...
It's like a megaphone.
Yeah, it's shaped like a megaphone. Those are all details I love, and that maybe just directly comes from the poem or whatever. But by the end of that kind of transcends into a poem about love.
Right.
And I think this film was trying to be the slice of life that, again, after so much monotony, kind of transcends into a film about something more, about life, about artistry. And again, I don't think it was clear enough for me to completely understand what exactly the film wanted to accomplish or what it wanted to transcend into, because there was never really a moment where it was like, there was never an aha moment, really. It was like, there's
because we've said the movie is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then it ends back on Monday.
Right.
But nothing's changed by then, because even though he's had this like sort of thing where he had a departure from poetry because his book was demolished.
He loses all of his work, right?
But then, as much as I like that scene in and of itself, where the Japanese tourist, who is a poet himself, has
mystical Asian presence appears.
I still like that scene because
Yeah.
I think that's a nice plot point of like giving up on poetry. He says something nice. I can't remember it, but he gives him the notepad. He kind of says something like "empty page." It almost sounds like a Confucius proverb.
Say.
Yeah, like empty page lead to new beginnings or something like that. I forget how he says it. I was trying to remember, what does he say? Because he walks and then he stops and then says something, and Paterson doesn't even respond to it. And it was something very strange, and I can't remember what it was.
He literally says, aha. Aha.
Oh.
I don't remember the context of what aha was about, but...
well, Paterson doesn't respond, so I think it surprises him too. But I remember trying to be like, what's aha about this movie?
And again, we could just be two guys who don't completely understand this movie.
I don't know that it's made for us.
Yeah. I don't know. Some of the cinematography I liked because it looked like it was watching Adam Driver watch the world, kind of, at some points. But again, everything in the bar I hated. I don't know. If you want to go into a review, I'd be down. I don't really have anything else to say. If you have anything else to say, that
I'm just scanning my notes. I think I've got through most of it. Oh, the only other thing that I didn't get to, just a tiny thing, was that the music was a little strange. That there wasn't a whole lot of music, but when there was, there would be like these kind of like low droning pads playing underneath these scenes that weren't really tense. And I think that was part of the reason why I thought there was going to be this like big buildup, or like a big dramatic release in his relationship, where he's just kind of like, stop painting my fucking house, and like, I'll Xerox my poems if I fucking want to.
Right.
Because they would have these like this soundtrack that did not fit and made it seem more dramatic and serious than it was, when it's really like it should have had like one of those like royalty free like quirky indie scores of like like little like piano like riff as he's like walking around, but it would have this weird like low droning pad underneath that I didn't fully understand the reason for. I don't know if you picked up on that at all, but I was just like, why is this a thing in your...
I hated all of the scenes where he's like kind of eavesdropping on everybody on the bus, but I did like that scene with like the little girl who was like writing poetry. It was way too convenient, and again, you're kind of also waiting for something to be like, like, don't talk to this strange man who like works.
No, I got blue balls in a different way from that scene where like because it's pretty soon after she's like, you need to share your poems with the world, and then he finds someone and she reads him a poem that he likes and respects, and they're kind of like kindred spirits in a certain way, and you're waiting for him to be like, I write poetry too.
Yes.
Here's one of my poems, like just a small gesture of like, I'll share it with one girl who is an aspiring poet and would appreciate it, and it might inspire her to do something else. Like, even if I'm not going to send it out to be published.
Right.
And he can't even do that. And then I don't see any reason in the film besides he's just completely content being a bus driver in Paterson.
Which is weird because also when his girlfriend, Laura, often says, like, maybe I'll have my own cupcake business, or maybe I'll be a professional country singer or whatever. Even though she doesn't seem completely convinced that she wants to do that, they seem 100% content. Sometimes he'll be like, that'll be nice. Like
he
I won't have to work anymore.
He says
like,
that more about the cupcake business. With the country singer thing, he kind of like jokingly plays along. I think he's serious about the cupcake thing.
Yeah,
I think she is more too.
I agree. Yeah,
because she thinks that they could be a big hit, and then I think with the country thing, that's like her pipe dream type thing that she's pursuing. There was another instance where like it was funny because like I recognize like the Esteban like brand of like guitars and like tutoring and stuff like that. Like there's one scene where she brings up like, I need to talk about two serious things. You need to copy your poems, and I want this guitar that costs this much that I need you to pay for because I don't have a job. And so like he agrees to that, and then like I guess forgets about it because later she's like, oh, my gift might be coming tomorrow, and he's like,
right,
gift. And she's like, I bought that guitar, and he kind of seems like mad for a minute, but then there's no payoff for that. Like,
right,
you're kind of expecting to be like, well, you just like went out and like bought that with my credit card, or
the thing that makes me the most angry, and maybe now it's the wine talking, is nobody like Paterson exist in Paterson. That's the fucking heartbreak of this whole thing. It's a made up story, and people like that don't exist in Paterson. I know that. I've drove down a lot, like a majority of streets.
I mean, it doesn't tell the story of Paterson, and then it's also like, if you're going to make a movie about Paterson, why is it a white guy?
Exactly.
It's not trying to be racist. There is another story to tell if you're going to tell the story of Paterson, and it's not through the eyes of a bus driver.
It's like just some La La Land shit all over again. It's like let's
make a movie about a jazz pianist. He's white.
It's just, I mean, again, he's kind of, I don't know. I don't want to follow up with that because I don't really have a lot of evidence. I just said that. It's not like it's not as bad as La La Land, but it is. It's primarily black and maybe even more Hispanic, I always thought, community.
Either way, non-white.
Right, yeah, and again, it's just kind of following these two bohemian ? Like, they're not even, like, really hipster or anything, kind of. I don't know. But let's get into some reviews.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of my thoughts about the film as a whole written down. The only other thing I did...
Well, like, read through any sort of notes that we didn't cover.
I think I covered it all.
Okay.
I didn't write this down, but it was a thought that I had where, like... I think I was actually trying to get into this before, where the film is framed in terms of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and we go through the entire week, and then we come back to Monday, and it's supposed to be kind of like this... Well, this is what a week is like in Paterson for this guy.
Very cliched structure, too.
But other films have done it better. The one that I think of, and I know it's to an extreme,
but still, it's
I don't want to
spoil
spoil it. Yeah. But Inside Llewyn Davis,
yes,
is a movie where it literally ends with the exact scene of the beginning, and it's supposed to be more not supernatural but metaphorical. And Inside Llewyn Davis, where it's like, well, this is what life is kind of like, and it just keeps going and going, and that's kind of like the Sisyphean or Sisyphus struggle of just you're always pushing this boulder of life to get through, and tragedy is always going to happen. But there's not really any real tragedy in this. Like, yeah, his poems get destroyed through his own fault, but then he kind of finds this new rejuvenation and, interest in poetry after that, and he's kind of back where he started, where he's writing poems that he's probably still never going to show anyone again.
Right.
And it's like, I'm fine if you're going to make a movie that's like, well, that's kind of what life is like, but then you have to be honest about what life is like, and I feel like you have to show more tragedy, in a sense, or sadness, or even more happiness. And this is just so, like, we're content, we don't want anything, so we can't be let down about not getting anything in the end of this film.
It's very mundane, yeah.
It's like a happy ending that was happy because they didn't have any dreams.
It was a happy ending from day one.
They, like, aimed
that
low
and the entire week, yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know. That made me very angry that it ended back up on Monday, where it's just kind of like, you didn't show me anything in a week. You didn't tell me about what a week in Paterson is really like. We know what a week in his life is like, but it doesn't... Like I said at the beginning, I understand what you're trying to do. I understand that you're trying to rebel against, these cliches that Hollywood is, not rightfully, but doing so evidently, where we have to be so overdramatic and we have to have these huge outbursts. Like, I think of like Hidden Figures, where they just had to have that scene of her like screaming and yelling.
Right.
We need these like scenes to point at, and like, I'm okay with the film being quiet. I'm okay with the film being subtle. But you still have to entertain us. You still have to give me a reason to care about this. And you still have to wow us in some way. There always has to be some kind of spectacle in film, I believe. Mm-hmm. If you're going to make a film that is quiet and subtle in the script, then the screenplay should wow, or the cinematography should wow us, or the music should wow us, or the performances should wow us. And nothing really wowed me in this movie. I related so much to the guy next to me that was just like, I'm sorry, but it was so boring. I had to fall asleep. Like, not that I was well rested, so I didn't want to fall asleep, but I didn't really feel like I gained anything from watching this movie. And I really wanted to like it because I think Adam Driver is one of the best actors out there right now.
He is, yeah. And
he is good in this with what he's given. And I've loved him so much in some of the other stuff he's done, even like the new season of Girls. He seems like he's great again. Mm-hmm. We've reviewed a lot with him this year, or last year. Silence he was good in, and then even Midnight Special in that like small role he was decent in, and obviously Kylo Ren in Star Wars.
Hold the fuck on. Is he a handy nominee?
Adam Driver.
Fuck, we forgot this whole time. Just like we forget next week with Anya Taylor-Joy.
Spoiler alert.
Yes. Handy nominee, Anya Taylor-Joy. I don't like this film at all. But I almost thought he gave a better performance in this to some extent.
Than what?
Than Silence.
Yeah, I mean, I think he is a compelling...
But this is a leading performance, so he would not be in the handies for a leading performance by my...
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's nothing that I point to where I fault him, and I don't put any of the blame on his shoulders for this movie. I don't know, maybe Jim Jarmusch is just not for me. I mean, I guess obviously not, because this movie is in so many top 10 lists from people that I respect. Mm-hmm.
But do you get that, or do you not get that?
I get it in the sense that, like, I get why people listen to, like, shitty indie bands and be like, this is so good, man, you know? Like, not that I'm saying this is a shitty movie. I just don't think it's for me. I think it appeals to that same sense of, like, I don't need that overproduced pop shit music. Mm-hmm. I just want, like, a guy and his guitar with, like, recorded in his basement shit. Like, yeah. And that's what I think this plays into, that, like, it's like the student film aesthetic of, like, let's just take it back to the basics. But I think in doing that, they forgot why people watch films. Mm-hmm. You know, like, even if it's going to be a slice of life film, I still want it slice of life film. I want it to be an escape of some sort. Like,
right? No, definitely.
Entertain me in some way. Do something that I couldn't have seen just going and walking to Paterson and getting on the bus.
Like, I said that at some point I wanted to stay in this world. But by the time I felt that, it was kind of too little too late.
And that's why I think the ending is the part that works the best, because it's the only time that the stakes are somewhat raised and we're somewhat pulled out of, like, oh, life is just getting on a bus and going to work and coming home and dealing with your girlfriend who you actually love. Mm-hmm. Like, that's the only time where, like, something's different and we see something that this character wants and it's taken away from him. And I guess maybe those are the parts that people are focusing on when they say they really, really enjoy and love this movie. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. I don't think it's for me. I don't think it was trying to be for me. I don't think it was possible for me to like this movie as much as I wanted to.
Yeah.
God, if I have to settle on a score...
Mine's not great. Mine's pretty low.
I think probably 1.5.
Okay.
And that's being generous. I could probably give it a much lower score if I was being more honest with it.
Same.
But
that's lower
I feel
than... Mine's 2. 2 fingers.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it was like the minute I stopped watching this film, I knew it was 2 fingers. Like, it was just too easy.
Below average.
But I know I just gave away my score, but I do want to circle around some small points that I didn't make. Let's see. My gosh, maybe I did. I don't know. I mean, at some point I could respect the Adam Driver character because he was just kind of like, he seemed like this true artist who did not want, like, fame and fortune, kind of. Mm-hmm. Kind of. You know, like, I wasn't really... but then, again, there were all these, like, weird signals of kind of, like, well, you know, we're putting this guy up on the wall, and they would really zero in on statues of parks and everything. Like, oh, this guy's got his own park. Hell, Fetty Wap don't even got his own park.
Fetty Wap's from Paterson. Did you know?
Take that line out of this movie.
Or give it to someone else besides the old bartender.
Yeah. Just like Fetty Wap, like, or just like the guy who like pulls up next to Adam Driver was walking a dog, and he's like a wigger, and somebody in the back seat has like a flat brim that says Paterson in cursive, like on his flat brim hat, kind of like it was just kind of like. No,
he's still probably wearing a Yankees hat.
Yeah, like, it's not like this. Like, people from Paterson aren't like, yeah, Paterson represent you. I got this from the Paterson store down the street, Paterson. Like, you know, like, it's very, I don't know.
But then if it's going to be that, like, even if it's going to try to create that sense, give the city an identity.
Mm-hmm. It's, oh, shit. Maybe I didn't write down the notes that I wanted to write down. I don't know. I guess the only other note that I have is that I don't know. He does already kind of. I mean, with the whole William Carlos Williams and all the other sort of people that were born here in Paterson. He kind of lives in this world that is like pre-romanticized. And I don't know. I really liked Driver's sort of like the way that he reads poems. Mm-hmm. I think that's kind of a lot of the key to this movie. I don't know. It's a lot. A lot of this
didn't tell us anything about him.
No, I agree.
Or about Paterson, or about life.
But yeah, my last point is on. Golshifteh Farahani, or I guess Laura is her character. She really, I really like her character. Like, as a girlfriend, I would not like her, obviously,
yeah.
But I like her character. I kind of almost recognize it from like TV in some way, and it's kind of like, this is like the quirky, like, Hispanic girlfriend or whatever. Like, I don't know somebody like that necessarily in person. And we went to William Paterson, where there is, you know, there's a lot of that sort of demographic, girls that, you know, that we knew and everything. No girls were like kind of like quirky like that. I feel like you see that more on TV. Mm-hmm. You see that more in movies. I've never seen that in real life, but I believed it. I liked her character, honestly. It was very one-dimensional. She definitely does not have as much to work with as Adam Driver does. It's a very one-note performance. Mm-hmm. But I think I've never seen... She's been in a few movies, that I've never seen. She's mostly a foreign actor, but I've never seen her. But she really makes this character work because it's very underwritten. She kind of makes it her own. There is like a kind of breaking in this movie where they quite literally break routine, and she comes home from the farmer's market cupcake thing, and she's like, I made $200 and something, like, let's go out to dinner and let's go to the movies, like my treat, kind of. And they go out to like an old horror film that's like black and white, and you see her respond to the film. Like, obviously she's like, I love black and white. But I mean, she also just kind of talks about the film, and you see her and Adam kind of talk about the film. And for the first time, he's not entirely silent. And you kind of almost start to see why these two are together. Maybe even the bedrock of like their relationship, like, is some sort of appreciation for art. Because I mean, like, they're doing this is my foot. They're doing very different things, but they're both essentially doing art in some form or another. So it's not like crazy that these two are together.
No, and
but she definitely loves him more as like a poet than he loves like the work that she does.
Oh yeah,
and
he does have the one line at the bar, something about like the bartender asks him about his girlfriend,
if he has a cell phone.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, doesn't your like I don't think he calls her old lady, but that's what I want to call her.
Right, your lady or something. Yeah.
Doesn't she like, want you to get a cell phone? And he's like, no, she like really understands me. And like, you can see like a kind of look in his eyes where he's like, yeah, no, that's why it's almost like him realizing like, yeah, that's why I love her. It's like her not bugging me to get a cell phone and not, although she does bug him to Xerox his poems.
Well, I mean, she gets why he does not want to, even though he's very frazzled when the bus breaks down. He doesn't have a smartphone, and it's almost a little embarrassing that he has to. It's symbolic that he has to borrow it from a kid, but again, nothing comes of that really.
It's another blue ball scene where it's like that's just one small element where you could have been like, there's progression with this character. He didn't have a cell phone, and she does ask him like, well, maybe you could get a cell phone for like emergencies like this, and he still doesn't get one. Also, other thing that made me think of is that was like the most student film scene is when the bartenders, like in the acting, in the sound editing, when the bartender's phone rings and he's just kind of like, oh, Paterson, do you have a cell phone? Like, it was just the weirdest pacing. It was like, that guy's a pretty good actor, but in that scene, it was weird prop work to work with that like cell phone there.
Even when Adam Driver uses the little girl's phone, he presses, like, he dials like a 27-digit phone number, and I was like, what is going on here?
I did like that
I thought he was like texting her parents or something. Like,
I did like that actual prop of like the little girl's phone.
Oh no, yeah,
like,
definitely.
It's a good visual gag.
But yeah, that's about where I'll leave off. Is I'm gonna give this 2 fingers, and I want to understand what this film was doing, but I want to understand.
If you liked this movie, please comment on this episode on YouTube or SoundCloud or anywhere, and just tell us why. Help us understand.
I mean, part of me understands why this is in the top 10 of a lot of respected people. Part of me understands this, but and there's a lot of this film that I don't like it, but I can understand why other people like it. But there are parts of this film, for example, like a third of the film that's spent in the bar, that are like a student play, that are just horrible all around. And Adam Driver does his damnedest. I mean, I didn't even say this in my Joe notes, but I mean, Adam Driver's been like, I mean, again, he was in Girls, but he's Kylo Ren in Star Wars.
He's in Star Wars. He's fucking bigger. He's Universal now.
I mean, he's in. I mean, we reviewed him in a Martin Scorsese movie. He's been in 2 Noah Baumbach movies now. While We're Young and Frances Ha. He's been in a Coen Brothers movie, the one that Mike brought up earlier, Inside Llewyn Davis. Like,
I fucking love him in that movie.
People-
It's the smallest role, but
big name directors who are also well-respected artistic directors love Adam Driver. And he puts on a fucking great performance here. It's just, it literally has to be Garugamesh who's fucking this.
sorry, Jim.
Garugamesh!
One of my favorite scenes of him in this movie is in the scene where Everett pulls out the gun and he like tackles him. I don't like that scene itself. I just like his performance in it because I think it's weirdly acted from the other two characters who like just seem too calm.
Yeah.
And just happened to know that it was like a gun. But I love Adam's performance when they're like, I think they either say like, "Are you okay?" or like, you know, saved our life or something like that. And he's just kind of like, "Yeah, I guess." And he just does this really believable, like frazzled, like nuanced performance of like someone that just thought he was saving everyone's life and then realized it was like a foam like gun.
They, in the very beginning, and I think maybe when he talks about that scene with his girlfriend, they show a picture frame of a real picture of when he was in like the Marines or when he was in the Army. Take that fucking out of the film. Like, I think maybe the director was like me. I feel like the director maybe didn't know who Adam Driver was, but Adam Driver's agent, who has very great taste in like directors, was like kind of like, you know, tell me about yourself, Adam. And he's like, well, you know, I wasn't always an actor. I was actually in the Marines. And he was like, really? Kind of. And like puts that in the film, and that has no business being in the film. Him like
he knows how to tackle someone because he was in the
like,
Marines, Joe.
But like a picture of a Marine in this fucking bohemian lifestyle, that's a whole other can of worms that you have not even touched.
Yeah,
and
he doesn't seem like a
it's
Marine.
some weird fucking detail that some director was like wanted to be like Gus Van Sant or something, be like, oh, I want to like have it like naturalistic and like reflect the actual person that you are in real life. No, that's something you leave out. Like, I know, like, maybe you want photo
It was weird in
evidence.
editing, too. It was like, it was almost like you could see the fingerprints of, like, we're inserting this now because there was some kind of physical action, and he was a Marine, so he's trained in that.
A Marine would not become this character. I don't know.
Yeah.
He wouldn't... It didn't. No, it was a fucking unnecessary detail that ruined a lot of this movie for me, and all the other points are subtracted for all the fucking bar scenes, and just the screenplay is so misled and weird. And what a way to close out the 2016 movies.
Last review of 2016. So when this comes out, tomorrow is the Handies.
It is, yeah.
So make sure you watch those on our YouTube at How Many
Please
Fingers.
check them out. We've worked so hard
Go to
on
our
it.
website, howmanyfingerspodcast.com, and then you'll find our YouTube link there. And subscribe while you're there so that eventually we can have youtube.com/howmanyfingerspodcast. And then Saturday, the Spirit Awards. And then Sunday, the 89th Academy Awards, I believe it is now.
Which will also
hosted by Jimmy Kimmel. So I don't know if we decided. Either Saturday or Sunday, we're going to upload our pre-game to the Oscars, where
Probably Sunday.
we'll kind of recap the year 2016 in film. I know there's some films that we didn't cover on this podcast that we saw individually that we probably want to talk about and just recognize in some kind of way.
I know we did like another year, like we did the Oscar season of 2015, but I'd really like to talk about what a year of this podcast has felt like. You know?
This is the first season that we've had.
This is a
because
full
when we started
season.
2015, we were literally right in the throes of.
I think we started in November.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had a fraction of November, then December, then January, and then we just went into like a whole new. I mean, maybe there's a little bit of February, kind of like we're doing right now, and then we just went into a whole new season. This has been an entire year of movies that we've reviewed, and I'd like to talk about what does that feel like, and how do we want to change for the upcoming year, and what we want to do, and I think that's a cool discussion. That's not just us exclusively talking about one movie, but us talking about a year of movies we haven't reviewed during that year, and and
I think we will give really briefly, because I don't want to like monotonize that episode with just facts about the Oscars, but I think we do want to give our predictions for what we think is
definitely.
going to win that night, because we're going to fill out sheets like we did last year. And then similar to last year, after the ceremony, immediately, Joe will be at my house. We'll go record an episode right then, try to upload it as soon as possible so you guys can, be informed about the ceremony and our opinions on it at the water cooler the next day at work.
Right? Yeah.
So look forward to those this upcoming weekend. And let's just breeze through some of these last plugs and we'll get the heck out of here.
Get the heck out of your hair.
As always, howmanyfingerspodcast.com. Like we said, the Handy Awards. Check those out tomorrow on our YouTube. Sticker contest. Again, congratulations to Connor. And that's over, but you can still rate us on iTunes. As always, we will always appreciate ratings and reviews on iTunes.
Definitely.
Thank you for all the ratings and reviews we got so far from the contest. Subscribe to our mailing list, please. You can find that on howmanyfingerspodcast.com. We got a couple links up there on MailKimp. We'll keep you updated on new episodes coming out, contests, all that kind of good-ish. Subscribe to our YouTube. I already said that. Merch, as always, still there. You guys can still purchase some merch.
It's there.
T-shirts, koozies, stickers, and package deals, all at howmanyfingerspodcast.bigcartel.com. Pretty good prices, so head on over there.
Great prices for podcasts.
Yes, we're not how many favorite murders.
How many murders?
How many murders am I holding up?
Any podcast, really. I don't know. Because sometimes I want to buy a t-shirt to support a podcast, and it's like $30 plus shipping. And I'm like, you fucking kidding me? You guys have 100 times the fan base that we do, and we're giving our shirts for $9.99.
Yeah.
If you guys want to rep How Many Fingers, yeah, go for it.
$9.99, do it.
Yeah.
Or package deal.
Package deal, even better.
$11.99.
$11.99.
Ridiculous.
T-shirt, koozie, 5 stickers. Get into it.
Yes. And as always, on our website, you can find a link to our Amazon link, right, and an iTunes link there. And if you click on either of those, anything you purchase on Amazon or iTunes within the next 24 hours in that window, we'll get a little cut off. Really great way to support us without really going too far out of your way. Just make the purchases you were already going to make.
Right.
You don't have to pay anything extra. There's no how many fingers tax on those purchases.
No, yeah, it doesn't add anything to your final. And, it just helps us.
We'll just siphon off a little bit of funds from the almighty Jeff Bezos.
Yes.
In Amazon Studios. And I think that about does it. Oh, I don't know if I said, but that averaged out to 1.75. So 1.5 fingers.
For Paterson.
Rounded down for Paterson from Jim Garugamesh.
Jim Garugamesh.
We're going to go sleep, and then tomorrow we'll record the handies for you to watch tomorrow for you.
Yes. Enjoy them. We got some...
Enjoy these confusing time analogies. Signing out for How Many Fingers of Podcast, I'm Mike.
I'm Joe.
Garugamesh!
Anime! Oh, no,
Gaming!
Manga.